Mounting a scope on a rifle is something that's extremely easy to do yourself, and it'll save you a little bit of money once you know how to do it yourself instead of taking it to a gunsmith. So some of the tools you're going to need for this job are the scope, the base, the scope rings, a torque wrench of some sort. For this one, I'm using the Wheeler Fat Wrench, thing of blue Loctite, some kind of leveling system. Wheeler's got some more advanced ones, but for this one, we're using the level from Wheeler. The rifle itself that you're mounting the scope on, and then optionally you can lap the scope rings, which I'm not going to do in this video, but the next video I post will be about how to lap scope rings, so be on the lookout for that. So let's get into how to actually mount the rifle scope. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is mount the actual scope rail itself, and most newer modern rifles are going to have these set screws basically in here to keep a place of the screw holes so they don't get like mushroomed or anything like that. So all we're going to do is take those out. Now that we got those out, we can put the scope ring or scope base on. And this part is self-explanatory. You line the holes up, right? And we can see it says to tighten down to 22 inch-pounds. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll take the supplied Allen wrench and go ahead and get one of them started. And you can feel when it kind of sets in. And now is where the blue Loctite comes in. So I always like to start with the inside, outside, outside as I'm tightening them down, just to kind of make sure they have even pressure everywhere. So we'll just take some blue Loctite. Doesn't take much, just enough. And we'll get it started. And we'll come back to it. Now we'll do the outside. Then the inside. And then finally, the outside. Now we can take our torque wrench and set it to 22 inch-pounds. And make sure with your torque wrench, it is inch-pounds and not foot-pounds. You will mess some stuff up if you get a foot-pound one and try to tighten it down. All right, and same thing, inside, outside, inside, outside. And I always like to snug them up as I'm tightening them down before they actually start clicking. All right, now all of them are tightened down to 22 inch-pounds. So now we're going to take the level and just go ahead and level up the base. And with this level from Wheeler, you just sit it in and it will sit flat so you can make sure it's level. And then you can adjust it as needed. This one looks pretty close so far. Yep, and that's good to go. For the scope rings, we're just using a set of vertical split rings. They're 1 inch, which is what the diameter of our scope tube is. Okay, and so now we can go ahead and set the rings as well as the scope on the base. And normally with horizontally split rings, you'll put the base on first and then you'll set the scope on it. level it and tighten it down. But with this being a set of vertical split rings, you don't have that luxury. So for right now, we're just going to be getting everything set. And I like to get the base screws or the bottom set of screws to the point to where you just start to feel a little bit of resistance, which just means that they're coming into contact with the scope base enough to be able to hold it to where if you still need to wiggle it around and move it, you can once we go to get the eye relief set. Okay, so now we'll test the eye relief. So mine has a little bit of scope shadow, which means it needs to come back a little bit. Now let's try that. I'd like it to come back just a little bit more. And perfect. Okay, so now it's time to get it leveled. And we'll grab our other level. Some people like to take this cap right here and just set the level on it. I find that gives it a little bit less accuracy. So I always like to take this off. Just set it over to the side. And then we can set it on. That way we can go ahead and get this adjusted. Okay, looks level right there. Let's double check this level. All right, so both are level. And I always just like to make sure that the vertical line inside the scope is cutting the gun in half, which in this case it is. So now we can finish tightening down the screws. Okay, so now that we have both the rifle leveled and the scope leveled to the rifle and the base, now we can go ahead and get the top screws started. And as you're tightening these screws down, once we get them torqued, you want to make sure that the scope itself stays level. So we'll take these. And the bottom screws, we're going to tighten down to 20 inch-pounds. And then the top screws, we're going to tighten down to 16 inch-pounds. And once again, we want to double check that the level, or that the rifle stayed level, and then that the scope stayed level, and that it did. And so from here, what I like to do is, now that I have everything set in place, one screw at a time, taking it out and putting it back in, I like to apply that blue Loctite just to make sure everything stays like it's supposed to. And we do one screw at a time, that way it doesn't mess up any of the level. Now we can set this one back in, tighten it back down to 20 inch-pounds. And I always like to do 2 clicks just to be on the safe side. And we'll keep going down the line. And we'll keep doing this for each of these screws up here. Just remember that we tighten these down to 20 inch-pounds, and then we tighten these down to 16 inch-pounds. You don't want to tighten these down to 20 and then take a chance of stripping the screws out. But we'll just keep going down the line. So as you can see, we have our scope mounted on our rifle, and it's as I said before, super easy to do yourself and something you can do at the house to save you a whole lot of money versus taking it to a gunsmith. And all the tools that we've used in this video, I'll have linked down in the description box below. Just so if you want to go pick it up for yourself, you can do so. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Y'all have a blessed one, and we'll see y'all in the next video.